Hey everybody, welcome back to No Vacancy Live. I may be solo, but not for long. Stick around.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality.
Hey everybody, welcome to No Vacancy Live. I, of course, am Glenn Hausman. Anthony's on location today. He's doing some sort of thing that I can't tell you about, but he's going to be having a great time today. Not as good time as me, because I'm going to have one of my old friends on today, but it's so great to see you, everybody. And if you're going to be at the America's Lodging Investment Conference, Alice, next week, hey, let's get together, say hello. I'll be the guy by the bar at the cocktail party. That is, if I could actually get to the bar, because there's so many great friends to see, so many people to say hello to. I'm going to be hanging out with my friends over at the Zelle Capital Finance. They do the sales leaseback stuff. I'm learning all about it. I think you guys are going to want to learn out there too, especially since it's going to help empower you guys to be more successful with the capital that you already have invested in certain of your select service properties. So say hello to me, drop me a line, all of that kind of good stuff. All right. So yesterday we were at the Ritz-Carlton New York Nomad talking to Sebastian Germer. And one of the topics that we talked about is why so many Germans make great hoteliers. And wow, turns out we got 2 Germans in a row coming straight from Germany this time, not from New York City. And my old friend Fabian Bartnick, who's a master in revenue strategy, revenue generation in both hotel side, now F&B as well. Fabian, so great to see you, brother.
Likewise, thanks. I have to say, when I was backstage and I listened to your intro, you kind of go like, woo, let's go.
Yeah, it's funny before the show, depending on how I'm feeling, and I've been slow on energy lately. I know you can't tell it right now, but anytime before I do something, I'm always pumping myself up, trying to get the blood flowing and all of that kind of stuff. Plus, I see you're doing it too. I like doing these things standing because it sets the right tone, doesn't it? You know?
Yeah, no, absolutely, right? It's like the flow comes out. Right. And what I interesting is I always pump up music beforehand.
Yeah.
Until I realized that the people on the webinar could never hear me. Right?
Yeah.
So you see me on the screen going like, woo, woo. And everybody goes like, what are you doing, mate? Sorry.
That's too funny. Now, one of the major issues that we're all seeing here in the hospitality industry, Fabian, is the fact, at least domestically, and by domestically, I mean our domestic, not your domestic, is that the rates have been going up, up, up. And I'm finding that it's harder for hoteliers to push rates, even as their expenses continue to climb. So it becomes so incumbent upon hoteliers to really understand what their revenue strategy is, both for the rooms and every single item they sell on the property. That's kind of going to be what we're going to be talking about today. But Fabian, we go back, shoot, man, I think it's been 6+, almost 7 years now since we started working together at a revenue type of firm that I was in content
we met in New York.
Yeah, and you were running their Asia Pacific international business and the whole darn thing for a while there, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was awesome. I remember we did the best chicken wing joint crawl in New York, and we gave up number 3 because we were absolutely rubbish at finding one way or the other. And I have to say, I still believe Buffalo Wild Wings, you are the god and goddess of chicken wings, in my opinion. My opinion.
And this dude was living in Singapore at the time, and he's talking about our chicken wings, the best street food in the entire planet. And you're worried about our chicken wings over here. It's incredible.
Man, every time I come to New York, boom, first night.
It turns out, and I know this is why people tuned in. You know, who doesn't like hot chicken wing talk? We had those last night, as a matter of fact. And since we became friends, I've really mastered the art of making my own chicken wings over here. I dust them in cornstarch and flour, and I double fry them, and I do different sauces and stuff like that. And it is so much fun. If we ever get together again, I hope that we can add that to our competition.
Yeah, it's sad we're both married, eh? That's the sad part. That's the sad part. Coming together.
I didn't know that being married would stop us from eating chicken wings together. I'm glad that you told me.
Yeah, no, that's
All right. So, Fabian, you're doing a number of things, and you're an entrepreneur, and you're out there. I think the whole goal of your career is to help others be more successful, to help others be more profitable, and that's what you do with Infinito. When it comes to helping revenue managers, you do a lot of training of revenue people. I think you've done over 1,000 people you've trained in your life, maybe even more. And most recently, you started focusing on restaurant and bar revenue profitability as well. So let's start at the beginning. How did you get involved in revenue management? Why does that excite you nearly as much as the quest for the perfect chicken wing?
It's kind of connected, right? Look at me and you wanting to go for a perfect chicken wing. We're now a perfect customer, right? For me, I started revenue management when it wasn't revenue management. So I honestly had no idea what I was doing, right? It was literally bounce rates up, bounce rate downs, try, test, right?
Funny, when I started this podcast, I had no idea what it was doing. Doesn't stop either of us from just forging ahead, right?
You see? But the more I look at it, is that the principles are part of your everyday life, right? And I always try to bring it down to really simple things that people can understand. And you're absolutely right. My prime mission is to really help hoteliers get better at what they're doing so they can have a better life. Right. And that's fundamentally what I want to do. I want to help the human behind the machine get better, right? We're absolutely outstanding. We have an amazing intelligence between our ears.
Speak for yourself. Yeah.
Well,
I can't say that about me.
Some of us, right? But even me being here, I'm making you already better. You're in a happier mood. You were jumping around. Dude. You see, I'm helping.
I got to tell you, and Fabian is one of those people that you're in a room with. You're happier to be with him. I was almost in a near depression. I wanted to get back into bed before we hit the start button on this show. But getting to talk with you is just so positive, and that's the kind of thing that I think you imbue into everything you do. You make people feel that they can be better, that they can be smarter at what they're doing. So when it comes to revenue strategy, and there are a lot of young people that look at this, and as a matter of fact, speaking of revenue, we had on the SVP of revenue, she was commercial, but they changed the name to revenue strategy with Crescent Hotels, a major management company here in the United States with well over 100 properties. So this is kind of like a theme of the whole week. We didn't get into it with her, but what are some of the common mistakes that you see revenue strategists making right off the bat that they could fix?
I think you got to trust yourself a little bit more, right? Because every system, everything out there always tells you how smart they are and how dumb you are, right? Yeah. And at the end of the day, when you give you an example, we had it's all action reaction, right? And I have a philosophy that says projection equals perception and perception equals reality, right? So if you project to be an absolute rock star, you go into a room and people perceive you to be an absolute rock star. And when they talk to you, then only rubber meets the road, because they might realize you're just hot air or you are indeed a rock star. Right. But when we do strategies, right? Yes. It's the faltering belief that we have that inner feeling as if, crap, I got to do something. Right. I was involved in a revenue meeting last week. And the week before, we did an entire strategic review, did all the changes, and business came flooding in. Right. So it worked. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, we got to do something this week. We got to really do something. And I was like, people, hold your horses. Last week, we did all that stuff. And boom, things went gangbuster. Right. Yeah, now we got to put all those things in. So you're essentially telling me we did the right thing, and now let's undo it. So next week we can have that same conversation again, just to screw it up, and we pat ourselves on the back and say, well done, I did something. So if I have one thing for everybody out there, especially the young guns, right? Revenue management is the startup of hospitality. We're the youngest ones out there. Right? We are the youngest one. Data is the new oil of the 21st century. Yep. The role will be involved. Don't worry. Like, there's so much crap out there. What people talk about revenue management. Oh, you storyteller. Oh, you're data geek. Oh, you this, right? Like an absolute. I'm trying not to swear here and use words in my head like baloney.
Oh, you know what,
right?
dude? You got to come and do our Friday night audit show at some point. Then you could curse all that you want. That's more comedy,
Hallelujah.
cocktails, all that good stuff. Yeah.
No, but you know that my point here being is you got to trust yourself, right? Action is no action, right? You're going to screw up. You are going to screw up. It's like coding. You are going to get it wrong, right? And then you have to redo
I like
it.
everything in life.
Yeah, but it's self-fulfilling prophecies. Like
Right.
we had a strategy in place. Another example, we had a strategy in place for New Year's.
Right.
We put in New Year's and we put hardcore restrictions in place.
Mm-hmm.
And then first complained, we're getting no bookings. Well, if you put a restriction in place, you got to be prepared that a lot of people were going to turn away, right?
Right. And now the restriction could be like you need to have multiple nights in there because you don't want people coming to your hotel for just the 30.
Non-arrival, so on and so forth. And then all of a sudden, it's like people have this thing that it's all or nothing, right? It's like I have to drop my pants down to my ankles or pull them up right under my armpits, right?
Yep.
No, it's like I love always bringing relationships in. It's like 50 Shades of Gray. Revenue management is not black and white. It's all the fun stuff those two people do in the meantime.
Well,
right?
From what I heard about 50 Shades of Grey, there's a lot of fun stuff in there.
Yeah,
so I get what you're saying.
And it's all great. It's all great, man. Right? And I think what I wanted to do, I mean, there's a lot of education out there, right?
Yeah.
And to a certain extent, I put 2 new things out there with the School of Revenue, right? For people specifically that do not have the cash or the qualifications to go to a university, to do a hotel school for a long time, but they still want to learn that, right? And I'm 100% for it. People are not dumb. Like, I know we always talk about hoteliers, they're so far behind. They're not dumb. They don't want to make stupid decisions, right? They just sometimes got to learn. I mean, go to an owner. They might not know revenue management, but ask them about profit and they rip your head off. Right? They will literally take any revenue manager for breakfast. So how can you call them on one hand idiots when it comes to revenue management, and on the other hand it's flipped, right? Right. So I put that out there in revenue management and in food and beverage. Right? Because food and beverage, everybody goes conference and events. And I totally get it. Right? Yep. It's a big ticket item, right? I understand it, right? Yes. But we, and I say particularly we, because it's a company that I co-joined or co-founded with 2 founders, Puneet and Bartnick, both of them legends in their own right. And we decided, let's disrupt the industry a little bit and help people become better at optimizing revenues in the restaurant space. Those guys have done that. Like we bring the perfect expertise from food and beverage. So Puneet is all food and beverage. We have Monique, who comes from a casino background. So player optimization until the cows come home. Right. And the marketing stuff that goes with it. And then me on the tech and the revenue front. Right. And when you bring all those 3 together, you have a match made in heaven, because we understand all parts that it takes. And more importantly, everybody's focusing on dynamic pricing, right? Love it. Great. It's this part of the entire equation. And second of all,
wait, could you explain that a little more? Because it's only that much of it. And for all those of you that are going to be listening to the Auto Podcast,
so dynamic pricing,
little smidgen motion with our hands, just a little bit. Yeah.
So dynamic pricing is awesome, right? We have seen it in hotels.
It's awesome, except if I'm trying to get concert tickets. That's all I have to say about it.
Correct. And if you're Taylor Swift, then you get really annoyed because people actually pay F load of money, right? My point is here, you have those qualities that, yes, price, right? Increasing, decreasing prices based on time of the day, so on and so forth. It works, it's proven. This is not the issue. The issue is implementation. Right. We have gone during COVID. We went away from the paper menus, right? And we went fully digital. And then we kind of ended up in this really annoying, stupid halfway in between. Right. Oh, you got to order through the QR code, but then the waiter has to come and talk to you. And you kind of go like, well, that's defeating the point, right? Because if I need to do all of that, I've only seen it work really once.
I can't stand the QR code stuff.
No, and people are asking back for paper menus.
Yeah,
so if
I ask for it every time.
menu,
Number one, QR code menus, 95% of the time I've seen them, they take a photograph of the menu or something like that, and I can't read anything. It's not specifically designed for it. I've only been to one restaurant I know of. It was a ramen joint, and they had beautiful, bold photographs in the app, in the QR code thing that you go to, and it looked beautiful, and I understood the menu, and I could read the menu, but I like paper menu because I want to see everything in front of me. I want to compare. I want to contrast. I want to have more of that experience. So not all things coming out of COVID were great decisions.
No, totally right.
Yeah.
And
please continue.
When you then look at the operational challenges, there's a lot, right? But there's so much more to it. And the first issue is when you ask people, oh, you do restaurant revenue management or food and beverage management? Absolutely. Okay, which part? What do you mean? Well, server performance optimization, table optimization, menu optimization, right? Dynamic pricing, forecasting, right? Which part are you actually optimizing? Because we threw that all. It's kind of remember the times when yielding equals revenue management, right? So from that perspective, it was crazy, right? And so when I looked at that, I was like, we got to change it somehow. One part is education, covered, push that out, right? But part number two is, how do you go about menu engineering? Right? How do you go about server optimization? Right?
Yeah, these are complicated questions. Like when I think about menu engineering, now I am not a food and beverage expert. I think about cross-utilization of ingredients. I think about maybe paring down the menu to what it is actually people are going to eat, as opposed to what they tell you that they want to have on the menu, and to think about how simple it is for the back of house team to actually get those dishes out in a way that's going to impress. So
but you touched three different areas here, right? You touched one, process optimization, food cost optimization, but you haven't really talked about menu optimization, right? So when I talk menu optimization in a very simple term, you have something like a gaze motion study, right? Gaze motion essentially says, where do you look, right? And then you can essentially mark down and put the different menus where they belong.
Kind of like, so people could generally understand what you're talking about. I think what you mean is like when you go to the supermarket, that different brands compete to have the shelf space that's at eye level for adult products, and sometimes for children products, maybe a shelf or two lower, right? So you see it and you identify with that immediately. So in a menu, I noticed that certain positions, you might have a higher priced item, not at the top of the list, but where people are theoretically going to look first or wind up looking, right?
Yeah, correct. So there's two parts, right? Gaze motion study says you kind of look in the middle, you kind of go top right, left, down, right? Yeah. So there's a path that you follow, and depending if you have a single fold, two fold, three fold menu, that kind of slightly changes. But let's just say the top is a little sexier than the bottom. Right. So that's number one. But number two is
sadly that's what they say about me, but whatever.
The top or the bottom?
I don't know. I'm just making stupid jokes.
I'm tip top. Yeah. So then the second part is you will have dishes that people love. You have people that you have dishes that people don't like. You have dishes that you love because they are hugely profitable, and there's dishes that you don't like. Right? So imagine you have a quadrant, like a window, right? You know,
so I might not like it as the owner, but it might be something that's that people are demanding.
Correct. So people buying ton loads of your Glenn's chicken wings. Right. They're loving them. They're eating them like crazy. Unfortunately, Glenn loves his quality product, and the chicken wing is totally, and don't want to say unprofitable, but has a very little contribution margin. right?
Well, the problem is, and this is real, at least here in the United States, chicken wing prices have gotten extremely expensive over the last couple of years. And it's really hurt companies like Buffalo Wild Wings because of that. So there is some sort of legitimacy here based in the real world, what you're talking about. So please
I
continue.
love how we always get back to chicken wings, right? So let's put those chicken wings on, right?
Yeah.
Now, those chicken wings, and that's the interesting part.
Yeah.
They can be a cash cow.
Right.
Okay. Cash cow means people love them, people buy it, but not very profitable. Right.
Mm-hmm.
You then have stars. The star sits all the way on the top. People love them. Amazing profits.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's a sexy side of the equation. And then we're going to the other side, right?
Right.
All the way at the bottom, not profitable, people don't like. Right. Those are the dogs, the stinkers, whatever you want to call them, right? The industry kind of went with dogs or duds, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have on the top left those puzzles or challenges, right? Those are the ones that are highly profitable, but nobody wants to buy them. Mm-hmm. Now, already by giving you those different quadrants, you can now look at your menu, look at quantity sold, contribution, right? Margin, and essentially say, what should I be doing with those?
Right.
I'm not touching price at the moment. I'm not asking you to turn a McDonald's into a Buffalo Wild Wings, right? All I'm saying is, if I now tell you on those 4 quadrants, what is a star, what is this, what is this, what is this, right? What are you going to do about it? Yep. And by asking that question, what are you going to do about it? I can already start doing things. Should I change my prices? Should I change part on the menu? Should I, as easy as something like giving the server a target and an incentive to say, push the chicken wings today, or push the burgers because we need to get rid of them. Supermarkets are amazing of them. When we go to supermarkets, and I don't know if you have signed up to my newsletter. So my newsletter is essentially revenue management in the real world. So
well, while we're at it, why don't you tell people how to sign up for it instead of at the end?
Okay. You go to LinkedIn, you Google my name, Fabian Bartnick. You will see that I have a little thing called revenue management in the real world. It's essentially telling stories about my children. But how is that revenue management related? Like what, for example, those guys are crazy. We went to a flea market and they used Google Lens to take pictures of their toys, went to Amazon to find the prices, and then essentially set up a negotiation tactic for when they come with customers to haggle on the day, right? And supermarkets, for example, supermarkets are still doing those old prospectus. And it's interesting what kind of biases they use and menu engineering techniques they use in order to put things together. There's some psychology of pricing baked into it. But other things are, if I need to get rid of stuff, they might already discount it. And you kind of go like, why is it on sale? And then you see, okay, it has only a shelf life for 2 months.
Correct. Or even less. I think about, I was just recently at the supermarket and I bought a rack of lamb, which I never buy, but it was half price. And I knew I was going to use it like in a day or two, and it still had a week or two left on longevity. Why not buy that product? It made me happy. I got to experiment with a different food to cook, and it probably was great for the supermarket because they knew that they were under the gun to have to get rid of that particular product before it went bad.
And now you know why I love revenue management so much.
Yeah.
Right? Because
when
we go to the
it's funny. I'm just realizing it when it comes to food and beverage, it's the same problem as with a room. It expires after a very specific time.
It expires after a certain period of time. If the table expired, I can't sell it again. Right. But even in your real life, if I go and if I bring my son to football, and I'll drive back, and then I go and pick him up, and on the way back, between 10 and 15%, petrol price is cheaper within an hour. When I go to the supermarket, and here's the issue you asked earlier, why should people join revenue management or do revenue management? It's because with people, we love to be completely habitual, right? On the one hand, we want to be those cool people that are unpredictable. And on the other hand, we crave, like children, a routine, right? That's why revenue maintenance every Tuesday, 4 p.m., boom, 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 right? And That's how we go about business. So we take the same reservations, we do it again. Oh yeah, we're busy. Okay, but are you busy fools? Or what? Like, are you really thinking about what you could be different? And the food, the supermarket is the same thing. We go shopping after 5 p.m. because we know at 5 o'clock they reduce everything 30% that needs to go out over the next 2 days.
Really?
Right?
Yeah.
They need some time. That goes for meat, so on and so forth, right? So we get salad, we get chicken, we get the beef, right? All of that stuff. And that's kind of like pressure selling, right? There's other sale techniques that you can do. But menu engineering can already, give you an insight into your business. And it's not a one-time exercise. And I think that's what people need to understand. It's not like, oh, I'll sit down, I'll do it, happy days, bye-bye, right?
Yeah, right.
Ain't going to happen like this. You got to do it for a specific time. You got to look at it, and then you got to sit back and say, okay, what can I change now? Can I get rid of some menu item? Can I introduce some? Can I put them together, right? A lot of times you have the chef doing the menu pricing, right?
Yep.
It's fantastic, based on food cost,
right?
Most of the time,
right?
Or profit contribution, right? And then they put in, okay, I want to desire 20% food cost or 25% food cost, and boom, I get my
$28 for this entree.
Correct, right? And you kind of go like, but that's not the point. That's like occupancy ADR kind of game, right? We want to do RevPAR.
Right.
And as you can see, we have only touched menu optimization right now and a little bit of pricing, but we haven't talked about dynamic pricing. We have just talked about how can you get smarter about pricing and placement, right? We can then go table optimization, right? There's a huge difference between table occupancy and seat occupancy. Huge difference, right?
Explain that for people that don't understand.
So table occupancy is, I can have my restaurant, I only have tables of 4. Right? And I got 100 of those. So if they're all full, and I only count it as a one time right now, right? I can say, you know what, Glenn, we did amazing. We did 100% tonight. All tables, chock-a-block.
That's great, except there were a lot of business travelers there eating alone, and you only serve 52 people. Yeah, or whatever it is.
So seat occupancy, rubbish, right? So from that perspective, we got to relook at it. And I kind of get annoyed when I see restaurants doing those seatings, 5 to 7, right? And you kind of go like, why are you doing this to yourself, right? 100% operational reasons. And I get it, right? But if you want to drive your business forward, you got to change something, right? It cannot, like, I always tell my kids, if you do the same thing, you will always get the same output, right?
That's right.
And you know that. Every time you do the same thing, don't expect things to change.
There's that saying, you know, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different outcome is the definition of insanity, you know?
Correct. But it makes you really good at being insane.
Yeah, right.
Right? Because you're doing it over and over and over and over again. And that's our life, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's still hurdles to overcome, right? But there's easy wins around. If you look at most POSs still, I don't know. It's like you're going into a room full of people I find unattractive, and you say, find a partner. And you kind of go, I don't want.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's not pretty. It's not good. It doesn't give me the data that I need. It's all there. Right? Don't get me wrong. It's all there. But it's not in a way that I want to work with that data and take that data. And so we made sure that when you come to our company or our website, PerfectCheck.com, right? We are sexy AF. Right? I want people to look into and log into the system and go like, holy crap, this is awesome. Right? And the people that we've shown it to, they're all kind of looking at it like, when can I get it? Right? And yes, we still have a long way to go, right? To put all on everything out there, right? But it's going to be the future. We have proven it over and over and over and over again in different industries, right? We just got to do it properly. And I believe we 100% make it profitable and can help restaurateurs to make more profitable decisions. And we're not talking you're going to lose your job, you're doing something bad, or people go like, oh, server performance, you're going to police the servers. No, you're not.
No, you're giving them
essentially
better information to make everybody more successful.
If I know, I always say it's best of breed performance. If I know Glenn is really good at upselling chicken wings, or just how can I take that? Glenn, tell the team how on earth can they do that? Right? If I can,
the fact is, over here at the House and Resort Pool Club and Smokehouse, we double fry our wings, and that is a distinctive difference than wings that you're going to get at other places. So definitely give it a try, because it's going to be much more crispier, even with our incredible sauce selection.
Oh man, did you just do advertising here? Unreal. You see, that's why you're so good at chicken wings, right? And I got to go out for chicken tonight. Love it. The thing is here, there's a lot of stuff we can do, right? Yeah. There is a lot of work to be done, and that's awesome, right? And as I said earlier, from my perspective, we put the education out there, the School of Revenue, right? It has a revenue management course, and it has specifically a restaurant management course, right? And I want to democratize it. I want people to go on there and go like, yeah, I'm happy to spend $80, $90 on that, right? Just to get that knowledge. And we're adding to it over and over and over and over again, right? So they can go to revenuerockstars.com and then link over to the other show, to the other, correct. And so I think the time is right. We know the principles are working.
Yep.
We just now got to bring it together and say, let's do this. And I know people are totally up for it. The conversations that we have is great. And you always know it's great is if they look at what you have and they ask the next question. Okay, so now that I have it, what can I do next? So you know already, this is the vision, right? Totally, we have that vision. We still got to go there, but everybody knows they got to go and it's like this thing, you know, when you have that huge mountain to climb, like it's like Mount Everest. People don't climb Mount Everest in one day.
No,
they go base camp, they chill out at base camp, they base camp 2, 3, 4, and then on one day they do the ascent and descent. Right. But the whole thing takes you God knows how long.
Yeah, weeks.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's the same principle. They're not going like, okay, Glenn, come on, tomorrow we just go, right? You can't. And it's the same here. But if every day you do a little improvement, by the end of the year, you have changed your business, right? But it has to become a habit. And you got to stop talking. Wow. Right? You got to do.
Yeah. And you got to do. Yeah. And one of the things that I've mentioned on this show before, you don't have to do everything at once. When I'm trying to change my life, I add one new thing at a time, figure it out, make it normalize it, and then move on to the next thing. And I think that's the same thing you could do when it comes to all of this menu optimization and stuff that you're talking about.
Yeah. And one of my prime principles, and I tell my kids over and over again, the journey is the destination.
Right.
Okay. Because if you have goals, you spend 99.9% of your time in a negative state.
Right.
Because you're always chasing that goal.
Yeah. That's why I said my goal's really low.
And really low. But you do it low. And then once you hit it, you put another one and another one. So you're always in the negative state of mind.
Right.
But if you actually say, no, I want to progress, I want to do better, you're constantly in a state of positivity, of energy, of loving it, of bringing it out. And I think people need to snap out of that and think, what can I do today different?
Right.
And you know, as I said, you're going to screw it up. Crikey, it's life.
Right. Yeah.
But it's not like somebody comes next week and says, oh, Glenn, you remember when you tried that new thing with your chicken wing and you moved it 2 places up?
Yep.
But dude, I'm telling you, I'm not going to come again. I'm going to always hold that against you.
Right.
Come on.
Right. I know. I know. It's the same thing as like Twitter with a few voices screaming BS that nobody actually cares about or worries about.
Yeah, it's like you will see. Okay, generally some things are black and white. So the moment you visualize data, and I have a concept that I call WOW, right? Visualize, optimize, visualize, analyze, and optimize.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to visualize data so you can analyze it. Once you've analyzed it, you can optimize.
Mm-hmm.
But we're really bad at the analyze part as humans. Biases, right? Too many drinks last night.
Right. So you almost like look at the information to get out of it what you want, as opposed to what it's really telling you.
Correct. You got to look at it unbiasedly. And I know it's really hard, and it's really funny. People, like, when we put our system and they go like, but I know that.
Do you?
And I said, that's fantastic. This is not a life-changing opportunity every time you log in, right? I'm not a magician, right? Sometimes it just validates. So pat yourself on the back and say, good. I know what I'm talking about. And that's fantastic. But there will be things for everybody that they kind of go and say like, that's interesting. Right. Like server performance. I know it gets tricky when you have a lot of temp staff, right? But generally a lot of restaurants have a mix out of temp and full-time. So your full-timers, you can benchmark them the same as you do in revenue management with from SDR, RGI, ARI, right? So occupancy index and ADR index, you can do the same thing. How good is that server at driving average checks versus turning tables, right? What kind of meal parts are they really good at? What are they not good at? And based on that, you know who to go to in order to say, was that a fluke? Were you just lucky? Or are you consistently outperforming on one or the other metrics, right? And what else can I do in order? Thank you, Adele.
Adele, I love your new picture, by the way. Yeah.
And now you completely threw me out of it.
Sorry, but Adele's comment was just too good. I had to put it up. So let me move on to the next thing then. All right, you were talking about the dynamic pricing and stuff like that. How do you know what to do when? Because if I'm at a hotel, I'm already having trouble getting people to come to that restaurant. I'm going to raise prices on them at a certain time or lower them at another time. In an ideal situation, how does that really come together?
Well, you have it literally out there all the time. It's just we're not saying reinvent the wheel. Right? Things out there. So easiest one, happy hour. Happy hour is the easiest part, right? But everybody comes in from 5 to 7 happy hour. Right? And then 5 minutes before our happy hour ends, the entire place gets another round.
Yeah, of course.
Of happy hours, right? You're saying, of course. But
well, yeah, of course, because I, as the customer, am going to save as much money as I can because it's being offered.
Yeah, but it's insane that I'm the business owner and I come to you and I know you're going to stay for another 2 hours.
Yeah.
Right? Then I'm going to say, we went to that one restaurant in Singapore, right? And I thought they were mad. And I said, like, guys, what are you doing? You were essentially allowed on the last round of happy hour to order as many drinks as you liked.
So I'll have 3 for myself, please.
No. So I was sitting there with my wife and we were like, right? We didn't have kids at that time.
Yeah.
Happy hour. It's 9 p.m. It finishes. It's Friday night. We're going to stay here until 1. Could we still have each 3 beers, 5 glasses of wine, and just bring a couple of shots? Right?
Oh my God.
Because it was like literally like 75% off on the prices. And they had also that thing where you could get mini slider burgers.
Right.
For $1.
Right.
And so we were like, okay, can we have like 30?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, what the hell?
Why not?
Yeah.
Right? If we're feeling the munchies a little bit later at night, we're just going to take it. Right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, right, a lot of those things are already in our daily lives. We're doing them. We're holding ourselves back because we think we're so special. No, our industry is different, Glenn. Like totally, our industry is completely different. Will never happen,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Totally different.
Totally, like, dude.
Good American accent, by the way.
Thank you. I can do other ones, but I don't think I'm really good at them. Maybe. So do you know what to price? And here, one of the podcasts, and I know I made you listen to one of my podcasts.
Yes, and Fabian's got a brand new show. So How to Budget Like a Pro was the first episode. It's what's it called? The Voice of Revenue?
The Voice of Revenue. The first one today actually was buzzwords. So I literally said, let's put some common sense on there and look at buzzwords. And I'm going to talk about the conundrum of revenue management in one of the following episodes. And it comes down to your question of, like, how do I know it's right? Right? Well, I can be very facetious and say, you're not full, you're too expensive. Or you filled, you're too cheap. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when you go into that nitty gritty of it, at the end of the day, in this day and age, price is one thing, everything else is something different, right?
Yeah.
If you put out there, buy one, get two free, but I'll punch you in the face, chances are people are still not going to come. Right? Mm-hmm. So the traditional concepts of dynamic pricing we have, but we're very rigid at it. Yeah. Right? We have become very complacent about it. Mm-hmm. And I don't think dynamic pricing is the first thing we should tackle. Mm-hmm. Leave that baby for some time else. Right. I know there's company out there trying to do it, and it's great. We at PerfectCheck think menu engineering, server optimization, and table optimization is well worth more money. Right? And they're easier to implement, super easy to implement. You implement our software, you get your KPI dashboards, you get your forecast. You get your forecast of how much are you going to generate over the next couple of days, forecast of your tables, right? You're going to get a recommendation to say, hey, Glenn, you know what? Server A should focus on wine. Server B should focus on main course. Server C should charge this. And then look at it from a perspective of, okay, we analyzed all your menu items. We got to push the chicken tikka today. Forget the chicken wings. They're doing good. They're cash cow, right? I know profitability is not good. Will sort itself out if we get different supplier, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. But at the moment, let's push this one. And because we have a feedback loop, it will essentially go back directly and say, hey, you took that recommendation and look, you sold 25% more, right? Yep. Only by setting a trigger, right? Only by saying, not asking you to change. All I'm saying is, tell your servers to push the chicken wings. And you said earlier, operational stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Now go into any pizza place and they have a finite part of oven, right? So they can only do X amount of pizza in a given time. Otherwise, it's not possible with heating times and so on and so forth, right? So at a certain point in time, if it's popular, you block yourself out because people have to wait and you have a knock-on effect. Push pasta, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Put something on there. Try something else to free up space from the pizza in order to push something else, right? Or make the pizza more unattractive. Right? Different things of what you can play around with. Those things you're all going to learn in my course that I put out there. It's educational. You put it then into practice by getting our system. So perfect for you. It delivers a perfect check each and every time. That's why we have the name. I like it, dude. And then you hear the real stuff when you listen to the podcast, right? Yeah. Boom. You're doing great with everything, including the shameless plugs, which I absolutely appreciate. But I got one more thing I want to talk to you about when it comes to all of this. The whole notion of understanding total potential revenue per customer, as opposed to the room and the food and beverage and the spa and any other amenities you may or may not have on property. How is the industry seeing this, and how are you seeing it? I think lifetime value is a tricky one, right? We can talk about like really cool stuff and say, okay, my children 7 and 9, Hayden and Rafa, right? If I take them to a resort, what is the chance of their lifetime value for them ever to come back?
Right.
Right? That's a lifetime value. How much can I get out? At a single property, pretty difficult, right? Except, of course, if you're German, you go to the same place 50 years in a row, right? Same room, same table in the restaurant, easy. Hello to all my Germans out there. But on the other hand, if you are a brand, like a Marriott, a Hilton, all of a sudden it makes sense to see, okay, how do I actually get you? And they have loyalty program and other things already in place. So the question is really not about, is it something we should do, but more about when will we do it? Right? There's a lot of GDPR data involved, right? So can I actually share that kind of stuff? Casinos are amazing at it.
And our business can't seem to learn anything from the casino business, from the way I feel as a customer.
It's tricky, mate. It's if you walk into a hotel, right? And you have a name, right? Glenn Hausman.
I do have a name.
But imagine you're Jim Smith.
Right.
Bit trickier to say which Jim Smith is it right now. And I'm sorry, but we're not paying our front desk agents enough for them to give a crap, right?
Yeah. Oh,
because
absolutely.
if you go and when I worked in the UK, we were in an airport location and we got a phone call from the police because they needed to see our records.
Right.
And they called me back and they said, how come you have 95% from Afghanistan? Oh, because it's the top one, the default on the list for nationality. Right? Yes, you have to open this. Yes, you have to do that. Right. But to be honest, there's reality and there's theory, right? It's like in menus. You have a theoretical menu and it looks great. But once you put in how much we're selling of each item, the entire profitability can go to shreds.
Right. All right. I've got one comment to say on the Afghanistan thing. Why can't you put, if I'm booking in the United States, why can't you put United States of America first? Why do I have to scroll all the way down to the U's and then accidentally hit United States Outer Islands or something like that and get something in like Bora Bora? You know, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And you're right. Then you're not getting accurate information by doing stuff like that.
Correct. And inaccurate, it's like garbage in, garbage out, right? Mm-hmm. And we always say, oh yeah, but we have AI, right? We got to be very careful of how we frame it. So AI, in order to say, my phrase is going to be, so if you're the AI, right? I'm going to say, Glenn, fall. What would be a next word from I, fall? What would you say? What would be the next word? I, fall, down. Right?
Yeah.
You don't even need to know what fall down means.
Right.
As long as statistically you can say down follows fall, right?
Right.
That's statistics. So we gotta look at it also a bit with common sense, right?
All right? So let me ask you this, man. When we first started working together at that company that I was doing content for, and you were working at, it was about 7 years ago. You taught me the words machine learning. I'd never heard it at that time. I learned all about that kind of stuff. It was really fabulous. Why all of these years later have we not seen the hospitality industry be able to figure all of that out and deliver stuff to each customer that's meaningful or correct for them? And I say this at every show that I have revenue management people. I'm tired of getting offers for golfing vacations when I've never golfed in my entire life. All right, there was that one time in junior high school, but other than that, no.
Comes back to crap data management, right? Yeah. It's essentially, we need to understand that the AI can be as amazing as finding things in the data, but if you give it really crap data, right? In 2015, I think, and I know it's 8 years back, right? Microsoft put a Twitter bot out there, right? Unsupervised learning. That thing became racist within a day.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Why? Because it was learning and people were taking the mickey out of it, right? And with you, why you're getting that golfing? Because somewhere along the line, you were tagged in either with the golf people or there's something attached to your profile that says Glenn likes golf. or Glenn likes A, B, C, D, and E, and therefore it likes golf. Right?
I don't know.
And
I tend to think that it's just the companies just aren't figuring it out in the right way.
It's not figuring it out. And then at the other end of the day is if Glenn goes one time somewhere, right? What are really the chances of Glenn ever coming back? So I need to change my perspective and say, screw Glenn, right? Glenn ain't coming back.
That seems to be the perspective of most people. I get it.
No, but Glenn absolutely loved it.
Right.
Right. So let me get Glenn to send his friends.
Yeah.
But only if Glenn actually spent money. Right. If he drank the bar empty and then ran off, right? I don't want anything to do with Glenn's friends. Right. So there's a lot of things cooking. There's a lot of hype. There's a lot of stuff that is really cool. I think we have a mammoth task when it comes to ethics going forward with machine learning and with AI, right? What is actually ethics, morality, shouldn't do? And then,
that's a conversation for another day. I just saw that some lawsuit was filed here in the United States against AI art that was done. The comic book industry is in an uproar about it. I didn't read all the details on it, but these are emerging issues that we're all going to have to deal with in the future.
And neuroplasticity, right?
Yeah.
The reason I say learning or the journey is your destination is because it builds neurons in your brain. If I don't need to research anything anymore, it's like my child asking me to clean their bum. Right. The longer I clean their bum, the less likely it is they want to clean their own bum. Right. Yeah. And so with that, I foresee the same issues. But for me, revenue management is human-centered, right? Yeah. We can't forget we have a machine up here that is nothing else than an algorithm. Yeah. And we're writing strategies and tactics, but there will be a symbiosis. To put it in terms that you understand, because you love those things, it's like Sarah Connor marrying the Terminator. Right. That's what we're going to have.
Yeah, that's it. I love it. That's a great way to end. Better than having an affair with Kyle Reese, but whatever. Anyway, check out the Terminator and Terminator 2 playing at a theater near you 35 years ago. Make sure you check that out immediately. Fabian, it's probably a good place for us to wrap up. I gotta have you on the Friday night audit show just to have some laughs and all of that kind of stuff. We'll get you scheduled for that. But in the meantime, one more good quality shameless plug for PerfectCheck. How do we find you?
Go to perfectcheck.com. Hook me up on LinkedIn, Fabian Bartnick. Very easy. I hope there's not more than me. And then get in contact. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, or hook up Glenn and then he pushes you over.
And for the love of humanity, let's hope there's only one Fabian Bartnick. One last thing. Don't forget, check out the Voice of Revenue podcast. They're short, they're concise, they get right to the point, and you get his amazing personality every single episode. Where can we find that? Wherever you get your podcasts. And
wherever podcasts you have, Google Fabian or Google Voice of Revenue, and there I am.
All right, groovy. Hang tight backstage while I wrap up. It was great seeing you, man. I will talk to you in a minute. And thanks everyone for sticking with us today. What a fun conversation. I think what I'm taking away from it is, remember, you don't know what you don't know. And if we continue to learn and we continue to move forward, we'll all continue to be more successful together, particularly since we're in an environment right now where we need to find new ways to be able to generate more profitability as margins are continuing to become tighter and tighter. So make sure you check out all of this stuff from Fabian, and make sure you download our podcast wherever podcasts are found, the audio version, of course. If you're listening to that audio version, why not watch us? Give us a little look-see on LinkedIn, Facebook, NoVacancyNews.com, YouTube, which wherever we can be, we are there. He's at Anthony Hotels. I'm at Traveling Glenn. And remember, you've got one life, so blaze on. And as Anthony says, be kind to yourself. We'll see you next week. Not one day next week, because I'll be at the Alice conference, but we're going to have lots of great short coverage, lots of little short videos, lots of amazing executives out there. So be sure to turn in all next week. See you later.